Growth hack your brand and then destroy anything that moves.
You need to grind hustle your platform manifest.
It's all about entropy, elegance, and finance. Blockchain.
Invest in real estate every day.
Invest in meal estate every morning.
You need to mind hack the mind shackles that are grabbing your mind. Entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneur. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a day. Eat the man who just fished and you'll eat for a lifetime.
Spartans!
Business
money hacks.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business Money Hacks. I'm Bridge Stewart.
And I'm Dustin Taylor Hahn. And today I wanted to ask a question. Why Business Money Hacks? Why do we do this? Why are we here? It's easy enough to just get a job and work 9 to 5, sit in an office, sit in traffic. Like a
worm.
Like a what?
It's the life of a worm.
We're back on worms, huh? Already on worms again, eh, Bridge?
Let's just say I got worms on the mind.
He's got worms in the gut. Well, how is your gut, by the way?
It's not doing well. It's filled with worms. I ate some bad pie. Apparently, a meat pie, and that bad boy was filled with worms, and thus now I've got worms. So yeah, it's kind of been in my head, this whole worm thing, and so I'm probably going to be bringing up worms a couple more times today.
But you also said that you'd been taking wrestling classes.
Yeah.
So you got the ringworm as well. Are the ringworms and then whatever pie worms that you have, are they...
Yeah, I mean, apparently, one of these worms should have killed me. These are pretty strong worms, my doctor was telling me, and I guess it's the fact that the worms are fighting each other inside of my gut. That's essentially what's keeping me alive.
They're too busy fighting each other than to eat whatever insides are left.
Yeah, I just hope that one of them doesn't win, so that this civil war of worms can continue, and they don't turn their energy towards the greater enemy, which is me.
That's a great transition into what we're kind of talking about. We wanted to explain why are we doing this podcast. Essentially, we want to help out potential entrepreneurs so that they can get out of their 9 to 5.
Yeah, and ultimately, that's why we do this podcast. I mean, we already have more than enough money, way more than enough money to be able to live. This is philanthropy, what we're doing here.
Oh, yeah.
Dustin, I know that you... especially, you love giving back.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big... I've given so many wings to so many hospitals that I could say that I'm like a uber philanthropist at this point. And it's mostly because it's nice to have just your name on those buildings.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing better than, going to the hospital when you've got worms... and seeing your good friend's name on the hospital. I'll always associate you with worms now.
Also, the thing about owning so many wings of so many hospitals is when you walk in, they give you the treatment. You're first on the line. And it's really nice because when you show up and there's a surgery just happened, somebody's life was saved, they give me the credit and not the surgeons.
Yeah. I know that you like to have people clap for you when you show up to the hospital, and people will go up to you, and they're contractually obligated to call you a hero.
That's right.
And clap for you at 1 p.m. every day.
Everyone has to stop what they're doing, no matter what they're doing. They have to stop and clap for a good 20 minutes.
Open heart surgery, those surgeons stop, turn to you, and clap and call you a hero for 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's a picture of me. I had an artist rendering of me, and sort of like a 1940s, 1950s.
I got a fax.
Are you still on dial-up?
Yeah, I don't trust the Wi-Fi. I mean, those are waves and signals. Classic dial-up, it's just straight to the source, uncut.
And you found that faster, I guess, because nobody uses dial-up. You're the only one using it, so it's super fast because no one's choking that.
Yeah, the bandwidth. That's my secret. I hope nobody else decides to do that as well, because then it will be slow again.
Anyway, so yeah, I had an artist rendering, sort of a 1940s, 1950s. I kind of saw a picture of this guy, Mao Zedong. Some of that artwork. So there's a picture of me in one of these hospitals in San Diego. They could salute me and say, "Thank you, dear leader, master surgeon."
And it's a picture of you wearing, kind of in the pastel colors and with, sort of that that military suit.
I have the
and
fatigues.
underneath it just says hero.
Hero God is what I'm trying to get to.
That's the aesthetic you're trying to go for, is hero god.
Because ultimately I'm a healer.
You
Yeah.
are. You built the wing. You're a true wingman.
One thing that's also nice about owning the hospital is that I also get the organs. I get first come, first serve on that.
I mean, even if you don't need them, you just kind of have a collection in your living room of organs just hanging out about.
It's my surplus.
Yeah, you got to have a surplus. You got to have backups.
So, Bridge, what do you think about the podcast? How do you think the podcast is going? Do you think that we're helping small businesses, entrepreneurs? You've been getting a lot of feedback on your personal email about that.
Yeah. I definitely regret putting my personal email up during this podcast, because boy, do I have a lot of emails. A lot are from West Africa saying there's many business opportunities available. Mm-hmm. In fact, that's probably the majority of my emails these days, 90%. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think we're doing God's work here. This is borderline Mother Teresa levels of help to the community that we're doing. We are fostering an entire world of entrepreneurs that never existed. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud of myself.
I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of you, Bridge. And I'm proud of the potential businesses that could come about because of the tips that we give on this podcast. I've heard great things, only good things. I refuse to hear any feedback that's negative in any nature.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do, is just to zone out of all the negative feedback and only listen to the positive. That can only lead to good things.
Somebody sent you an email recently. His name is Craig, and he wants to start a business. He wants to start an egg business, and he's got no chickens.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I mean, when they say, when life gives you eggs,
you make an egg.
You make a fine Benedict.
You go straight to Benedict, huh?
You crack them and scramble. That's when life gives you eggs. You crack everything open and scramble. Just a gigantic scramble, and go into a large urban area and put that scramble in a large trough and let people feast. And that's, I think that's a great marketing way, is just if you, and then with that scramble, people will be like, oh my God, look at all these people just trying to get all these scrambled eggs out of a trough in downtown San Francisco. This is great. Really makes me want to eat eggs. I'll invest in this company.
Yeah, who's the man behind the eggs? I mean, that's the big question that they're asking out in San Francisco.
Yeah. Atlas Shrugged, who is John Galt? San Francisco, who is Egg Trough Man? is the real question that we're asking ourselves.
Who is the mysterious egg? Because life is all about scrambling. It's one big scramble. It's one big scramble to the top.
One big scramble.
We're trying to get everyone up to the top?
Yes.
Maybe. Yes.
No. Yeah, and this is an issue, we both have faced. You can have somebody who's working under you, who's an apprentice, if you will, who's trying to learn the ropes and has got the drive and the hunger.
He's got that hunger.
And maybe that person's hunger, maybe their hunger gets a little too big. Maybe their stomach gets a little too large. And you're thinking, wait a minute, is this person taking food away from me? You can't, I mean, this becomes a problem, because you have somebody underneath you, like a dog or something, and say it's a cute puppy at first, but dogs, they grow, which is a problem.
Especially when you're breeding. Are we talking about dog breeding?
Sure. Yeah, I know you're real into that. You love breeding dogs.
Well, the thing is, when you breed dogs, you gotta let them out.
Gotta let them loose.
Once they get big enough, you either put them down or you let them loose.
I mean, this is the analogy that we're talking about here. Is like small home run entrepreneurs sometimes get bigger, sometimes get larger, sometimes become a competitor. And when somebody becomes a competitor, that's a problem. That's a problem that everybody faces, is when that little puppy grows up and you've reared it to become a vicious animal. What happens when the dog starts eyeing your food on your plate?
And there are ways to stomp that out. And one of those ways is the blue juice, the goo, that When you put down a dog, they give them the blue juice.
I don't know anything about the blue juice.
Oh, yeah. Well,
not exactly sure what you're talking about.
When you're trying to put down a dog, you have this
goo. You said you've got goo.
I've got goo, and that's just the one way to put them down.
Ooh, I like goo.
I guess we're trying to say that, like, when you put someone under your wing, you want to make sure that those wings don't fly too high.
Yeah.
And certainly not above you.
I mean, yeah, you're in a helicopter. You give a person on the ground some wings. They start flying around. But what if that person with wings starts charging your helicopter? I mean, this is like quite an image, to be honest, is you in a helicopter being charged by a man with wings.
Oh, yeah.
Who's trying to get in your helicopter. I don't know why you try to get in the helicopter if you had wings. In fact, I would want wings instead of the helicopter. But this is just the analogy. You start giving wings to people and they're going to charge your helicopter.
Well, I mean, it's an analogy, but it's also in some ways truthful.
In some ways literal.
In some ways very, very literal. So at this hospital that I've been sort of doing my experiments with, I've given lots of patients lots of wings and it's a children's hospital, and we try to tell them if they're terminally ill, you say, don't worry, you'll have wings soon. Meaning,
don't worry, you can still fly.
And if there's some sort of rebellion going down in the hospital, which does happen from time to time, I have to go up on the top floor on the heliport, hop into my helicopter. Meanwhile, all of these winged children.
Yeah, that becomes a problem when you have a children's. That becomes a problem when you have a children's hospital rebellion and you try to escape on your helicopter. Whoops, I gave the children wings and now they're trying to take down my helicopter. That's a problem.
So when you say something is an analogy, you actually mean it actually happened to me several months ago.
Yeah. When you tried to escape on your helicopter.
On the top floor of my hospital.
The winged children tried to take your helicopter out of the sky because of the mistreatment they had at the children's hospital you created.
Anyway,
yeah, so it was quite the image of your bodyguard just taking out kids from the helicopter, just picking them off one by one as they charged your helicopter.
Oh, yeah. It was something out of a zombie movie or something.
Something out of the Bible.
Something out of the Old Testament. Just kicking bird children out of my helicopter while I'm sitting on top of the helipad on top of the hospital.
Yeah, it looked like some sort of Michelangelo painting, except there was a helicopter in the middle of it.
It felt very Renaissance. I mean, it was on the local news, and it was a big issue.
National news. I mean, nobody had seen anything quite like that. They thought the apocalypse was happening up there.
Well, then that situation. Then you start getting the evangelicals out to the hospital who see this situation. And they're like, "Oh, is it time?" And then they start doing their thing.
Give me wings. Give me wings, please. I want to fly.
But you were talking about dogs. We're
talking about winged children and dogs. Now, essentially what I'm trying to say is that, you give a dog a piece of steak, it's going to want a fillet eventually. Here's the thing. You raise a puppy, and it's like, oh, this is a nice little puppy, and it knows its place. A puppy knows its place. But what happens when that dog gets a little bigger? It's going to want a little more meat. It's going to want a little more food. Suddenly you come home after a long day of work and you're tired. You cook yourself a steak. What do you do when that 150-pound Rottweiler comes into your kitchen, starts eyeing that steak, and just simply takes it from you because you can't do anything to stop said Rottweiler?
You've raised it too well.
You've raised an animal too strong.
Yeah, with a small business owner who's trying to get into, let's say they're trying to get into my realm, into the pharmaceutical realm, or they're trying to get into your realm, into technology. Do you still foster this young entrepreneur, or do you try to stomp him out?
Yeah, I mean, that becomes the problem. And we've sort of learned this lesson the hard way. We kind of have to almost neuter these dogs early on so that they don't become these brutes as they age. There's only two things you can do with a strong dog in your house that won't leave. You can put it down, like you said, or let it loose. I have trouble putting down dogs. I like a good dog. It's hard to put down, so I usually just load them up in the car, take them out into the street, and let that aggressive animal loose.
Do you have a specific place that you do this?
No, downtown.
Yeah.
That's where I let my dogs loose. I mean, a dog isn't going to know how to survive out in the woods. Just let it loose downtown. It knows the rules.
Do you train dogs?
Oh, yeah. You can't raise a strong dog without some training. And yeah, I teach it all the tricks. Bite harder, bark. Though that's mainly it.
I guess that's the reason why there's so many dogs out in San Francisco Bay Area. Loose
Yeah,
dogs.
it's become a problem.
And you keep the collars on too.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's naked, and that's not right. Just letting a naked dog loose.
You keep the collars on, so there's a bunch of collared dogs that just say Bridge Stewart loose in downtown San Francisco.
What's crazy with these dogs is they've figured out bus routes. So, like, the bus shows up to a station, and it's like, all right, everybody on board. And then, like, the bus driver's like, oh, my God. And it's just a wild pack of dogs that get on the bus and just start barking. And, everybody else gets off because they don't want to be bitten by these dogs. And so this bus driver is just driving around downtown San Francisco with dogs just barking.
I know that there's also an issue, much like the worms in your stomach. The canine units with the police are trying to deal with these dogs, and the only way to deal with a rabid dog is with another dog. So the police have been training other dogs as canine units, and now there's sort of a dog civil war going out.
Yeah.
It's
They pick that up from the fire department. Fight fire with fire. Fight rabid dog with rabid dog. So yeah, they just keep letting more and more of these dogs loose into the streets, and I keep letting more and more of the dogs loose because I don't want the canine units overpowering my dogs that were let loose. So it's really just keeps escalating, and soon it's probably just San Francisco is probably just going to be it's going to go to the dogs, literally.
just run by these canine unit, I guess Dalmatians, you said the fire department. So it's German Shepherds and Dalmatians versus whatever random assortment.
Whatever mutts I've created. Whatever dogs I've let loose.
So San Francisco has become a war zone, a dog war zone.
Dog City.
It's Dog City. That sounds like a business opportunity. That sounds like a great hashtag.
Hashtag Dog City. Yeah, that's, I don't know what you could do with these dogs. I mean, that sounds like a sales, I mean, like you probably wouldn't make money off of bringing that trough of Scramble to the dogs. I mean, the dogs aren't going to pay for it, but they will be fed by said Scramble.
I'm thinking maybe we could rejigger the name of our podcast to just Animal Planet. Business Money Hacks / Talking Animals.
Animal talk. Just call it animal talk. And, I mean, because that's what business is. It's just a bunch, it's the animals out there let loose.
Like an oasis.
Oh, an oasis.
Where just many different types of animals they drink,
they feed,
they play, and they fight.
I mean, they don't fight, though, from what I understand in Oasis. It's it's a safe zone. It's much like a church.
You have these churches, the only safe haven for these my winged boys and girls. Meanwhile, there's dogs running loose.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the winged children have sort of teamed up with some of these dogs. So what they'll do is the kids will fly down, grab the dogs, and just sort of drop them into people's backyards.
I just picture a bunch of terminally ill winged children on the top of a church bell tower just squawking and flapping their wings. Meanwhile, the bell's ringing. I mean, this is the state of San Francisco.
The dogs are howling.
Rabid dogs. The police don't know how to handle their canine units at this point. This is the state of San Francisco right now.
This is the state of our philanthropy. This is what we've given back to the city. Walking into town and seeing that.
Yeah.
You definitely want to come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially what we're saying is that, it's okay to get big in business. Just don't get too big. Otherwise, you are an enemy. You are my enemy. You are Dustin's enemy.
Don't get too big for your britches, because we will crush you.
I don't like competitors. I don't like people who want what I want. Because then they take a share of the pie from me, and that's not right.
I mean, the ultimate goal that I guess we would be shooting for is that there's only maybe 6 or 7 people in charge of every aspect of life. So I would be in charge of medicine, you would be in charge of technology in that realm, and there would be a few other people, and we don't dip into each other's onion dip.
Yeah, too many people at the onion dip. I mean, that's
Yeah.
disgusting. Everybody just trying to get onion dip out of this trough. I want my trough of onion dip. All for me.
All for me, none for you.
You don't want a feeding frenzy on your hands. There's too many of those in life, and it's best to just sort of, know your place and be content with said place.
Absolutely. You should be reaching for the stars, making a small business turn into a slightly larger business, and then stop.
Don't get greedy. I mean, there's already too much greed in this world. Why would you? Oh, I hate
greed.
I hate all the greed. I hate greed.
I'm disgusted by so much greed.
Makes me sick. All I do is I stare at, I'm in my apartment building. I'll look out. I'll wake up at 4 a.m., look out into the city and just mutter to myself, look at all this greed. Look at all the greed in this city.
A shirtless Bridge Stewart wearing his silk pajamas in his penthouse on the top of his... because you have a penthouse and a 5-star restaurant.
Oh, yeah. All for me. And then I'll shuffle into my 5-star restaurant and, mutter at the chefs. Look, the greed is making me sick. Cook me a trough of scramble.
So you wake up, you look over, and you see the dogs fighting other dogs. You see bird children flapping around in the top of church bell towers. You see the police not being able to handle the situation. People are eating out of egg scramble troughs, and you say, ugh, the greed.
The greed. God, I can't stand the greed. I can smell it. I can smell the greed. Part of that is I'm really just smelling the scramble.
Yeah, right.
But greed smells a lot like scramble. And I find myself muttering to myself throughout the day, just the greed in my office, just looking at my employees, the greed, you greedy employee.
Yeah, you've been doing that more and more recently, and it has been a bit difficult when we're on conference calls.
It's sort of involuntary.
At this point.
Yeah, at this point, it's hard for me not to just get in that mind state because I see so much of it.
And there, that's one of the 7 deadly sins. I would guess that greed being one of them, but you could easily replace your mantra with lust.
Oh, there's lust everywhere. Look at all the lust.
Stewart just muttering
maybe
to
I'll
himself
just cycle through the
them.
deadly sins.
Monday, it's greed. Tuesday,
sloth. Look at all this sloth.
I can't stand the sloth.
I can't stand the sloth. Somebody needs to do something about this. Somebody needs to take drastic measures. Very drastic measures, if you know what I mean.
Well, at this point, it's hard to tell what drastic measures actually mean. I mean, you've been releasing dogs. I mean, drastic measure, where does it end?
We need to put somebody in charge who's going to take care of sloth. And in a serious way.
Each person in charge of one aspect of society. So let's say I'm pharmaceuticals. I'll take care of sloth.
Yeah, we need 7 elders in charge of the government. One for each sin. And each one is aiming to stamp out said sin.
That's the fix, right? That's the big fix.
That's ultimately what we need to do. Mirth is a sin, right? Is mirth a sin?
Mirth?
Yeah, it's like amusement. Excessive amusement.
I don't know.
It might not be a deadly sin, but I want somebody stamping that out. Just too much amusement.
People have been having birthday parties in parks. You see families going to parks and just having a good old time. There's a little ice cream. There's a bounce castle, and you've just stamped over there. I mean, I've seen you. Walk over to those parties, you knock over their tables, and you pop the bouncy castle. You tend to do that a lot at these parks.
Yeah, too much mirth is a bad thing. We need to go back to our roots as a country, our Nordic roots of austerity, and just entering every situation with a frown.
A stoic frown, a hard work ethic, and 2 dogs on each side of you. Just barking and growling.
Just barking very loudly.
I'm here to fix this. Getting on a bus with 2 dogs just staring at the rest of the patrons. I mean, that's got to be a scary moment.
And I think we need more of that. Less mirth, more fear of being bitten by a dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, that's essentially what we're saying is just, it's important to grow your business, but just don't get too big. Don't get too greedy. Don't get too mirthful in your success. I'm so proud of myself.
No.
Yuck. There's too much pride in this city as it is.
I think San Francisco's the whole Bay Area, it's dead.
It's a wasteland.
Leave it
Let's
behind.
be honest.
There's dogs everywhere biting people. I don't like it.
Let it sink back into the sea where it came from. The depths of the swamps of the sea. Let it return to where it belongs.
Let the Krakens take it.
Let's hope it comes quick. Let's hope it comes very quick and cleanses us of our sins.
Where would you think about relocating, Bridge?
That's a tough one. Inland, deep inland. I've told our listeners that I have land back east, swampland, forest land. I'd probably go back east.
I'm thinking west.
So you're
I'll meet you
thinking
east.
nautical. You're going nautical.
Well, if I'm in San Francisco right now, I've got a ways to go. Go west, my son.
Yeah, that's what I tell everybody in San Francisco. Head west. This place is dying. Head west. They're like, but that's the ocean.
But that's the
Head
ocean.
west.
That's the Pacific Ocean.
It's the only place that's free.
Have you ever read Robinson Crusoe? Or you've seen
Deep
Blue Sea? Or that Tom Hanks film where he was stuck on an island? I mean, that's the life right there. You're away from all the racket and the dogs. And
You're away from the dogs. You're with the fish, sitting on a beach, or just floating. That's the real freedom.
One thing that I said to my son when he was graduating college, he's like, well, what do I do? I'm a little bit confused. I don't quite know where I'm going right now. I said, head west, dip into the ocean, dip into the deep blue sea. Away with you.
I don't know you. You're not my son.
Well, I did say that. It's what my father said to me, and it's what I passed down to mine.
Swim west. There's nothing here. Only depravity.
Manifest destiny, but in the ocean.
Manifest seas. It's a beautiful image.
There's no mirth out in the ocean.
There's no mirth. Only survival. That's the only thing the ocean knows is survival.
I imagine when my son comes back from his trip out west, come back with some sort of mermaid creature to marry, and then at the wedding I could release the boys and girls.
Release the boys.
Release the winged boys and girls to commemorate their marriage.
So when your son graduated from college, you
yes,
told
please
him,
summarize.
Jump in the ocean, swim, and don't come back unless you have a woman.
That's right. And then when you do come back, we'll have a bit of mirth, some scramble, and terminally ill children.
And also, you're not my son.
And also, you're not my boy.
You're not my boy, and you'll never be my boy. You'll never be my boy like my winged children. Those are my real boys. Anyway, I think all this discussion has really informed our listeners about business and entrepreneurship.
Quite frankly, it's made me quite hungry.
I'm gonna have my chefs cook up a scramble with just as much onion dip,
But no sharing.
no sharing, all for me. And then throw it down the drain.
Let the dogs find it.
Let the dogs eat, is what I say every time I throw something in the trash, which is a lot.
So thank you so much. We hope you got a lot out of it, out of this conversation. Again, it's more about reaching for the stars, but not flying too high. You'll get close to the sun and we'll shoot you down. We'll get onto our hot air balloons and we will shoot you down if you get too high.
Instead of reaching for the stars, maybe reach for like a really tall branch. I think that's a little more realistic.
Yeah. Thanks so much. This has been Business Money Hacks. My name is Dustin Taylor Hahn.
And I'm Bridge Stewart. Make sure to like and subscribe.
And stop emailing Bridge Stewart.